Hi and welcome to April's monthly Kickstarter roundup from Rule of Carnage, bringing together all the best that Kickstarter has for the tabletop miniatures gamer. We've got some interesting campaigns this month. We've got a bunch of STL files, some models campaigns, and we've got an accessories campaign which we're going to launch straight in with, and that campaign is K-Team Tournament Pro Bundle by Pro Dicer. So this is an interesting campaign. I've included it in the accessories category rather than STLs, although it is for a set of STLs because it's STLs for an accessory and we don't get so many accessories campaigns. It's for a carrying case and a little sort of token dashboard for playing Kill Team, specifically playing Kill Team with a set of minis you want to carry about to tournaments, to clubs, to events, things like that. The actual sort of case is really nice looking. It's personalizable. You can put your name onto it. The little dashboard that's in there is really neat. It's got sort of dials for all the bits you'll want to track whilst playing Kill Team. It's got a token tray for all the bits and pieces. And the campaign comes with a set of tokens for noting all of the statuses and elements and bits and pieces that you're going to have to keep track of whilst playing Kill Team. The case itself is built to slot in some trays with little slide-in holders for bases of the appropriate size. So it's a really neatly thought through and like highly appropriate and really smart way of carrying all the bits and pieces and providing many of the bits and pieces that you're going to need to play Kill Team or a game similar to Kill Team. That's one of the things about the campaign. It's sort of, you know, dancing around the fact that it's for Kill Team, although it very clearly is for, I assume, copyright reasons. The campaign hasn't yet funded. It's just over or about halfway there, so it needs a few more backers. But it's a really neat set of pieces, bits and bobs. If you are a tournament player, definitely get in there and back this. If you are a club player, a sort of person who goes to events to play Kill Team, anything of that nature, this is well worth picking up. It's also just a really nice little set of storage bits and pieces for your miniatures, so well worth checking out, well worth giving a look over. Okay, moving on from accessories campaigns, we've got a handful of models campaigns, physical model reward campaigns, and first up of those this month is Dwarven Holds by Titanforge Games. So this is a lovely campaign for a good set of Dwarven fantasy miniatures, regiments, characters, bits and pieces like that. I would say enough for a small mass battle army or sort of a significant portion of a larger army. Obviously it depends how you're going to use the miniatures, what you're going to have them as. I think these could be somewhere around the ballpark of 1,500 up to 2,000 points, depending on what you use what as in a fantasy battle, Kings of War, or obviously the Old World Army at this point. So the campaign comes with some dwarf warriors in regiments, some hammerers, warriors armed with great weapons, and loads of really cool characters. There's sort of a dwarf king carried on a throne. There's an engineer with a sort of massive exoskeleton construction, a magma dragon rider, all sorts of really, really cool characters. Some really nice units. Personally, I particularly love some of the character or some non-combat minis that are in there. So they've got some townsfolk, which are really cool, lovely sculpts. All the sculpts are absolutely beautiful, but the townsfolk really stand out as being something that you don't normally see. I'm always talking about sort of unarmed and civilian miniatures, and they don't get enough love, and these ones are really cool, very characterful, lots of detail, really nice looking minis. Or as I say, all the minis in the campaign are great if you're looking to start or expand a fantasy dwarf army, if you're looking to get into dwarves now that the old world has come out, or if you're looking to pick up, as I say, something like Kings of War. This is an excellent campaign to get into. Really lovely sculpts, you know, loads of very characterful character hero lord units, and some really nice solid regiments to get yourself started. Well worth checking it out if you're on any level interested in some fantasy dwarves. Okay, next up for our physical reward campaigns, we've got For the Glory of Rome, Part 3, Soldiers and Civilians by Chris Abbey at Sally Forth. So Sally Forth are a well-known creator. They're a repeat Kickstarter creator as generally being a miniatures maker, and they're one that we featured before in the channel, and I'm sure we'll feature them again because they always do really lovely stuff. This campaign is available, I believe, in metal or resin. I think those are options for backing. But the minis themselves get so much fun. So yeah, there are some Roman soldiers, which are really lovely sculpts. You know, well worth checking out. You know, but you can find Roman soldiers around. The ones that really catch my eye on this campaign are some of the civilians. There are some guys sort of having a bit of a brawl. If you're playing something like Gangs of Rome, or you're just looking for something in a sort of historical skirmish game setting, these are well worth checking out. Again, you know, civilian miniatures or civilian-like miniatures are often a struggle to find, and historical minis work very nicely in fantasy or fantasy-like settings. So I think here, the civilians particularly, for me anyway, are well worth checking out for the options they're going to give you within fantasy gaming, historic gaming. As I say, the Roman soldiers are great, really nice, very characterful. Particularly there's some bits and pieces there that you don't necessarily see an enormous amount of. So well worth checking those out, well worth picking them up. But for me, you know, particularly those other miniatures, the civilians, the more unusual models, well worth stopping by and checking the campaign out to give those a look over, see if they spark the imagination, make you think of picking something up. You know, like I say, Gangs of Rome, anything of that nature, skirmishing within that sort of area, these guys are going to be perfect for, well worth looking over, well worth checking them out. Okay, that is it for physical reward campaigns this month. Moving on to our STL file campaigns, we've got a good few of those. And first up, we've got Mighty Epic Wars Chapter 2 Dwarves by Mythmaster. So this is a campaign for a set of STLs for fantasy dwarves in a 10 to 15 mil scale. So they're very much for playing in an epic scale, a smaller scale, whatever you want to refer to it as. And there's plenty of minis here for a decent sized army, even with the larger scope that you tend to get with smaller scale, if you see what I mean. The minis are really nice, particularly for smaller scale minis. They've got some of the elements like weapons and other features exaggerated bits, so you can still get a decent bit of painting in, something to catch the eye and make them work as a unit, and particularly make them identifiable as armed in the way that is game relevant. So you can really pick out the pieces that are going to make them what you see is what you get, even within a very small scale, which I think is very important at this scale, and very important for physically playing on the tabletop. For range of sculpts, there's loads of stuff in here. There's regiments, there's a massive sort of fighting platform, tank construction, lots of good stuff in there, well worth checking out. As I say, plenty for a full army. They have a level to add on their previous elven army in the same scale. So if you are looking for a sort of starter set, a bundle to get moving on smaller scale, although large scope, gaming with a friend, you can pick up the elves and dwarves and have a classic matchup. So there's everything you're going to want here for playing at a smaller scale, which I strongly recommend checking out and yeah, getting into. Small scale's great for getting really big games on a smaller space, you know, not needing masses of storage and massive play space. So well worth checking out, well worth looking this one over. Okay, next up for our STL file campaigns, we've got Corrupted Cybermechs by Dork Factory Miniatures. This is another really cool set of STLs, modular set of STLs for building warped, corrupted mechs, sort of bio-constructed metallic walkers with some sort of twisted thing going on. So they'd be perfect for something like Chaos within 40k if you're willing to sort of proxy around and find something that's suitable. I could see them as sort of alternative Chaos Dreadnoughts. Certainly if you are playing miniatures agnostic and you love your mechs and you want something a bit more sort of dark and weird and lumpy and fleshy and all that sort of squidgy gross goodness, well worth checking this one out. I think just generally if you're looking for some mechs, some walkers, some robots, robot adjacent, whatever sort of slot you're going to put them into, and you want some cool looking ones that feel like they've got something gribbly and grungy and unpleasant going on, well worth looking this one over. Really nice sculpts, lots of options, lots of modularity, lots of different scales, sizes for the different mechs, and loads of stuff they could slot into. As I say, it could be something like 40k, something existing where you're proxying out, or it could just be something miniatures agnostic where you want something big and stompy but also grungy and gribbly, to check it out on the tabletop. So yeah, give this one a look over if you're in the market for something mecha walker-like, but you want something that's got a bit more sort of darkness and grungy, gribbly grewiness to it. Well worth looking over. Okay, next up for our STL file campaigns, we've got Old Wild Western Rush by Chiyoko Yoshida. So, first of our terrain STL file campaigns this month, there are a couple. This, though, I think is the biggest, and it is a very impressive set of STLs. It's for a Frontiers era Wild West town, and it is a large town. Quite often in a campaign like this, you'll get enough buildings for a sort of a high street, a sort of a main street, a few saloons, a few buildings, etc., etc. This one's got a full town. This is a fairly large and bustling Frontiers era settlement. A large church. I think there's a sort of a Mexican sort of feel to the buildings, so we're looking at something around the border, South Texas, or Mexico. Really lovely sculpts there, lots of detail, lots of era specific architecture, loads of options for building out a full tabletop. So this is obviously going to work for anything sort of historical Western set. It's going to work for any of the sort of mashup or Weird West style skirmish games. So if you're looking at something like Dracula's America, you're looking at something like Malifaux, this is going to be absolutely perfect for any of those. I can totally see the Ortegas hanging out in some of these areas. I can absolutely see loads of options for skirmishing up and around on the buildings. Primarily if you just want to fill out a large, impressive tabletop with some Frontiers era, Wild West appropriate scenery, this is absolutely a perfect campaign to pick up. Loads of options in there, loads of buildings. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think it'll be a long time before you run through everything that's in this campaign and sort of run out of options there. Well worth looking over, loads of value, loads of detail, loads of cool stuff. Okay, next up for our STL file campaigns, we've got Beneath Crimson Sands, Cthulhu Mythos STL Miniatures by Jandro. I always love to see some pulp adventure, pulp miniatures gamings, love a bit of horror and small scale skirmish. And this is interesting because there are a few repeat creators that you've often featured on the channel that do this sort of thing. This is a first time creator and they've got some really lovely stuff. Everything that you're going to need here for a sort of 7TV, Pulp Alley or Perilous Tales sort of setup gaming. You've got a set of investigators, leaning a little bit into the Indiana Jones sort of more out and about adventuring pulp sort of style investigators rather than the library bound or sort of city urban investigators, but super cool. Loads of sort of feel and a sense of them, and a free miniature for one of the investigator miniatures. So stop by the campaign, pick up the free miniature if nothing else. Also a set of sinister cultists and a big grobbly sort of monster. Everything you're going to need to play out a narrative pulp adventure with a Lovecraftian style theme to it. So as I say, perfect for 7TV, perfect for Pulp Alley, perfect for Perilous Tales. Loads of options within that sort of horror pulp gaming. Well worth checking out, well worth supporting a first time creator who's doing some cool stuff, and hopefully we'll see more chapters and more sort of different settings, sets of adventurers and investigators and monsters and all that sort of lovely stuff we enjoy getting and seeing created. So stop by, back them, give them some support, and yeah, help out first time creator. Okay, next up for our STL file campaigns, we've got Lionheart, Cold War British STLs
by Flank March Miniatures.
This is a really cool set of STLs, I think, particularly because we don't see a lot of, well, see, I'm going to say contemporary or contemporary history miniatures. These are set sort of around the 1980s, which for me I consider contemporary history. I understand that some people might not be thinking that anymore, but it's still a period that you don't see an enormous amount of support for, which makes these miniatures super cool. These STLs well worth picking up, checking out, just for that sort of unusual niche set of options you've got available there. These guys are sort of designed to be printable at scales from sort of 10, 15, 28 millimeter. From looking at the pictures, it looks like they'll work at each of those scales. So if so, they've been very, very well designed. In the campaign, there are some commanders. There's sort of about a squad of infantry. Lots of options for support with things like mortars and machine guns, and sets of vehicles, and I think particularly nice sets of different tank commanders, gunners, whatever you want to call them, sort of popped out the hatch to give each of those vehicles a real bit of character and a bit of detail and a bit of feature, because once you've got a whole bunch of tanks on the tabletop, you start to sort of lose a sense of them being sort of different individuals, and having a commander visible within the hatch is absolutely a great way of not only giving them a bit of painting interest, but also giving them a bit of sort of identifiability on the tabletop. So certainly if you are interested in relatively near historical gaming, sort of contemporary adjacent gaming, which does not, in my opinion, get enough attention and enough support, this is a great campaign to stop by, pick up. If you think you might consider being interested in this era at some point within your miniatures gaming life, I would strongly suggest stopping by and picking up these files now, because you can put them to one side, you can slot them in the library, you can wait until you want to game with them, because if you think you're going to and you make the decision later, this is not the sort of thing that turns up very often. Swing by, pick them up. I genuinely think you'll think it's a worthwhile thing to have available in the library for when you get to use them and when you think they're going to be useful. Really lovely sculpts, really lovely minis, well worth checking out, well worth picking up and having available. Okay, next up for our STL files, we've got
Morozivka, City of the Frost by Multiverse.
So, last of our STL file campaigns and our second terrain campaign for the month. This is a fairly small set of buildings, but with some lovely feel and feature to them. Now, I'll say this campaign is running down. By the time this video goes up, it's going to be its last couple of days. So if you are interested, swing by now, back it sooner rather than later, because it's not going to be there for much longer. This campaign is for a set of buildings for a sort of Eastern European, Russian sort of feeling village. They seem to have a sort of historic or fantasy adjacent feeling. I really love them because I can't quite place exactly where they are, but they feel like they're in a lot of different settings. What they feel like, actually, for me, more than anything, is like a set of buildings from Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, something like that. And of course, there is a very excellent Elder Scrolls minis game out at the moment. So if you are playing that and you want a set of buildings that are going to make you feel like you're in Skyrim, I think these would be a great set for an Elder Scrolls table. Either way, if you're looking for something set within a sort of fantasy or potentially historic, as I say, Eastern, Northern Europe, Russian sort of setting gaming, a skirmishing sort of size table. These are some really lovely, unusual, featureful buildings, well worth picking up, checking out, and sort of thinking about the options for them, what they're going to be appropriate for, and let them spark your imagination for something to get built, sculpted, played, put onto the tabletop. Okay, that's it for our standard campaigns this month. As usual, we've got a Pay What You Want campaign, and this month's Pay What You Want campaign is
Sci-Fi Outpost Pay What You Want 3D STL files by Midnight 3D.
So yeah, this is a campaign for a Sci-Fi Outpost. What I think is particularly exciting about this campaign, often for something like this with an outpost's worth of buildings here, there will be a pay what you want level for one of the buildings, and they get the option to upgrade for the rest of them. This is pay what you want for the entire outpost, the whole set of buildings on a pay what you want level, which is amazing value. I always say pay what you want campaigns are great value because you get set the value, you get to decide what your money's worth is going to be. In this particular case, is crazy value available here. This is, I think, an absolute no-brainer. I think stop by, pick up these files on a price that you think is fair and you think is reasonable. You know, you could obviously pick these up for an incredible sort of bargain value price. A load of buildings in here, considering that it's a pay what you want level, and an excellent basis to have in the library, have available if you're a sci-fi gamer, if you might be a sci-fi gamer, if you're imagining that at one point in the future you might consider touching sci-fi gaming, stop by and pick these files up. The price is incredible value. They are very utilitarian. They're going to be like every possible sci-fi setting these guys are going to work for. This is an easy sell. Go by, pick this campaign up. There is absolutely no reason not to. Please swing by, give it some support. It's a really cool campaign with a crazy good price. So yeah, stop it by, pick it up. Okay. That is it for this month. Some nice campaigns there, just a handful of models campaigns, accessories, etc. Been a little bit quiet. I don't know if that's to do with sort of the convention season starting in various places. You know, I'm sure it'll pick up a little bit as we, you know, come through spring into the summer, but still some really cool campaigns, lots of stuff well worth looking over. If you do stop by one of them, if you do back it, please swing down into the comments section, let me know what you backed, what it is about it that's exciting to you. If there's something you're looking forward to on Kickstarter, something that you're wondering about, please let me know about that in the comments section. While you're down there commenting, please do hit on the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, and then swing over to our Discord. Let me know what you've backed, what you're interested in, what you're doing in the hobby at the moment. Yeah, until this next time though, this Saturday there's going to be another game design chat with myself and Mike Hutchinson, but for now it's going to be a thank you and goodbye. So thank you and goodbye. Bye bye.